it was the most, it was traumatic. It was traumatic to try to find words to comfort them. And those words, they were hard to come by, if any. What do you say by I know, I'm sorry. He was awesome. What do you say? And Obama came out, and I'm not a fan of his policies or anything whatsoever. I'm not a fan of him at all. But I will tell you this. He greeted and shook everyone's hand in that room, and there was a lot of people. He went to every single person. And I was like, that's cool. I was like, regardless of what BS you're involved with, I was like, that was cool. And when we went to the hangar to offload the C-17s with all these caskets, flag draped, he stood at a hand salute, a very crisp one, the whole time. That dude did not move. And we were like going on like 3 days no sleep. I mean, we're sitting down because we're like exhausted. Our backs are killing us from the pain of just operating. And that dude did not move. He was just crisp. Did not move for 45 minutes. Like nothing. The whole time. And as much as I don't agree with his policies and all the corruption I think that he's maybe involved in, he earned some respect from me on that day. For showing that right there, to the respect for those men. I have to give that to him. I have to. I saw it with my own eyes. So after that, they have to do their autopsies and try to put body parts with whoever. I mean, gosh, however you do that. I mean, there was caskets coming back with just body parts. Like, no names, just body parts, legs, hands, heads. I think there was like 2 caskets full of this. So I had time. I went back to Virginia Beach. I got my blues. Stayed one night. I had my girlfriend at the time. Flew in from Oklahoma. Stayed one night. Went back up to Dover to catch an Angel flight with Jason. And so we get on the bird, and there's another casket that gets on. I'm kind of confused. I've never done an Angel flight before. And it was an Army guy that passed at a different operation. And his little escort was on there too. So we fly, we drop them off. I think it was at St. Louis. They get off, and then it's just Jason and I. Went on to Blanding. And I just remember just like staring at his casket, like just attempting to process things. And I just couldn't. And when I got to Blanding, his brothers were there. He's got 3 brothers and his mom and his dad. And they're an amazing family. Amazing family. And his wife and his son Jax, who was the same age as my son Tristan. So that made it worse, seeing him. And we had a memorial service out there, and I was out there with him for 2 weeks because there's all these memorial services going around because there's so many guys. And our command like chartered a huge bus, I think a couple buses, and they're just hitting all these spots. And we were like 2 weeks in line, and I'm just sitting out there with his brothers. And every night, what do? You get tore up. Drinking, suppressing, stuffing, because I know what to do. There's not a manual out there that tells you what to do, because no one knows what you're feeling. No one knows your insides. We can put a scientific name to it, but they don't know. They don't know. And everyone handles things differently, and mine was drinking. To the point of passing out every night so I could sleep, because I would not sleep if I didn't have something. Or at least that's what I thought. Maybe I just developed a habit. I don't know. But I felt like I had to have it. To think about Mike, Nate, Louie, Adam, 2 Troop on Extortion, Josh Harris, Colin Thomas, guys that I did training with. So, I mean, Axelson and buds with him. Like, just the numbers of, like, all these guys I went to training with, and now they're all gone. And it's like, I knew before I went that was going to be my last deployment. But that was like, I was like, okay, I need to stop the Eddie show and think about your kids. And I did not want to do that. I did not want to get off that train. It's like the train was going on, the operator gets left at the train station, but the identity is gone.
You just can't plan for it. I mean, you just can't. It's 31 people gone, including some Afghan partner forces, but an entire troop of people.
Yeah. It's
just gone. And I mean, things that people don't think about, things that I know that haunt other individuals is, think about the guy who missed that deployment, had a shoulder surgery and wasn't there. Think about the guy who had to go home for a birth of his kid. You should have been there. Like, that's going to weigh on that dude forever. And it is. I don't know, I just remember walking into the building, it being so somber, just, you didn't know where to smile, like, you wanted to have fun at work, but you couldn't. Like, how dare you smile right now? It was one of those things, like, and it wasn't a forced, thing, it's just, it's what it was. I mean, we were in the trenches for a long time, man. We just were, and it felt like it was so hard to get back out of it. We tried to rebuild, and we've got the force, and they're back, and I mean, they dumped every dude. They pulled guys from all the other teams and tried to rebuild that one troop, and they grabbed some f***ing all-stars, man. They did. Like, they spared no expense. They grabbed some serious talent, and they rebuilt. And they built a dynasty. Like, they built some dudes. It was like one thing after another, so we get them all back up, and that's 2011. So I had Nick Check in my team. We were in the same 5-man team, and he got pulled out to go over there to backfill when all the guys got killed in extortion. And it didn't feel right. It didn't seem right. Him and my wife were really tight. We did our first platoons together. And when he went over, I rolled into his team as a new guy. And I loved him, man. God, he was awesome. He just was. He was everything you wanted a teammate. He came over and retiled my entire kitchen, him and my wife, when I was on deployment, before his first deployment with the command. Up until the last hour, he drove to the command covered in tile soot and put on fresh clothes and got on the plane.
Yeah.
Like, great dude. And you know, we just came back from Afghanistan deployment in between extortion. So we backfilled them, had to sleep in their beds, had to do that whole thing. That's a very sombering thing to have to do. I mean, it's the reality. Like, this is what it is. Sleep in a dead guy's bed. So, just another reality check. Trying to get in there and hit a really good target set, and everything's great, and we're going to work. It's all steady in the back of your mind. It's like, any moment here, any moment, this thing's going to get us.
Finally had his memorial service out there in Blanding, and one of the guys at the command, Jason loved Robert Earl Keen. I don't know if you're familiar. He's an awesome singer. And I didn't even know anything about him until Jason got me. He'd always come over to my trailer when we were in Baghdad, that second deployment. That was his first. And we'd watch movies and, drink and all that stuff. And we'd play Robert O'Keen. Someone reached out to Robert, kind of explained the situation. He shows up at the memorial service, gets up on stage, sings Coming Home, and finished the song. Everyone's in tears. No one clapped. No one did anything. He got his guitar, sat down, in the most classy way I've ever seen. Like he just, gave us respect. No questions asked. From what I understand, that conversation was like, I'll be there. There was no, oh, are you going to cover this? It was none of that. It was like, I'm there. Like, that was one of my fans, and he did that, and he was doing this. I'm there. That is America.
Yeah.
That is America. That is respect. That is how you earn it, by example. And that man is an example. He is a phenomenal, phenomenal man. Never talked to him. I don't need to. I watch his actions. The way he handled himself. He didn't want to do signatures. He didn't want to do anything. He just walked in with his Johnny Cash all black suit on, played that guitar, sang a song that Jason was definitely smiling down on, did what he came to do, left. And then after the memorial service that night, we went to a place called Spirit Cove, drank, of course, and just talked Jason stories and had fun. The buses were there from all the people going to all these memorial services. I mean, we're just like, can you imagine this? Like, it's just death. You're just consumed with death.
I can't imagine that.
You're consumed. Everyone's like crying. You drink too much, you're crying. You're not drinking, you're crying. You're like, but you don't know what to do with yourself. It's like, what do I do with my hands? You know what I mean? It's like you just don't know. And after that, it was time for him to go back to Arlington. So we go back to Arlington, and we're there, and they've got them all lined up next to each other. All the guys that decided to go to Arlington, and Jason was right next to Millsy, who was a really good friend with. And Stacy and Jason had this thing for rainbows. And sure enough, she looks back. I'm kind of standing behind them. We got Jax, and I got Stacy, family, and I'm kind of behind them. And she looks back to ask a question or something, and she just looks at me. She like pauses. She gets like a weird look on her face, and she goes, "There's a rainbow behind you."
Wow.
I turn around, and it was the brightest, most colorful rainbow I've ever seen. Just seeing that, I was done. I was taken out at the knees. Emotions took over that I was stuffing and stuffing and stuffing and trying to be a pillar of strength for his family. I was just standing behind him, hoping they would not look back at me, bawling. It took me out. It was like internally took me out. I was done. So we do the service, put the trident on the coffin. And a couple extra, I have another trident I had to do Millsy's, put one on him and then put one on Jason. And then went back home.